We're here at Mallory Park today, and I've just done a few laps of the circuit here in that car behind me, the Ford Focus ST170, which is probably one of the rarest Focuses around, and certainly one of the rarest of the 90s performance Fords. And it made me realise just how well Ford does mainstream performance cars, you know, when it's on its game, and that made me think, where did it all come from? And here we are, the RS2000, the original really.
But first, our friends at Lancaster Insurance are running monthly giveaways. You can win all sorts, from experience days to tools, restaurant vouchers and tech. So check the video description for full details and to enter.
Created in 1973 by Ford simply dropping the Cortina 2-litre engine into the small, lightweight body of the Mark II Escort and creating a 110 horsepower Escort, which by the standards of the day was really pretty serious machinery. And it came without all the complexity of the earlier RS Escorts with their twin-cam engines and things like that. After all, a 2-litre engine in 1973 was a massive engine for any car, really, let alone a car this size. And this one has been lovingly restored by its owner and is absolutely on the button, ready to go. So to tell us a bit more about it, we've got the owner here as well. Dave, this is your car?
It is, yeah.
How long have you had it?
So I bought it in 2013 and I ran it for a year until I realised it needed restoring.
Hasn't always looked this good then?
No, far from it, to be fair. But yeah, I realised it needed a bit of work doing, like all of them. And then when you start looking around it, there was more than one job to do.
How long did it take you to finish it?
It took me about 5 years to turn it round. I did it all at my own house, in my garage, you know, at my own time. So it took a bit longer than others.
Well, it's a nice job, fair play.
But yeah, no, it had to have everything, to be fair. When you start looking, the list is huge.
When you pulled up, it didn't sound quite standard, I didn't think.
No
expert.
No, I've had a few bits done. So as much as it was cost me to restore, I still wanted to do a bit at the engine, which was the original plan. Always just spend a bit under the bonnet, just make it that little bit more up to date and a bit more power. You always want a bit more power, and no, it's a nice balance. I feel like I modified it as I would if I owned it in the day, and yeah, no, it drives lovely. Right. Which you might well find out.
It's been around Mallory before, hasn't it?
It has, yeah, it has.
Do you mind if it goes around again?
No, not if you.
Cheers, thank you.
If you promise to look after
right,
it.
Let's take it for a drive then.
Yeah, sound.
So let's see what it's like. That's what it's all about. It sounds lovely. It's got about 90 horsepower more than standard, this car, I think. They're about 110 horsepower standard. The 2-litre Pinto. Dave's had this one built to just shy of 2.1 capacity. It's the historic rallying specs, really. He said it was a fresh engine when they dynoed it, so they were a bit gentle with it, and they backed off at 180 horsepower, but they reckon it's good for 200. It does feel lively. We've got a speed limit here today at Mallory. It's just for filming. We're not actually at a track day, which I have to say is a real shame, because this car really feels like you just want to give it some beans around here. But fitting the 2-litre to the Escort was a really easy way for Ford to create a performance car without all the complexity of the twin-cam engines of the older Escorts. Just a big capacity, smaller car. And back in '73, a 2-litre was a huge engine for a car of this size. The Escort weighs under 1,000 kilos. Just feels really poised, this car. He's been through absolutely everything, as you'd expect, someone who's owned the car that long. We've been told to keep the noise down, so I can't tell you whether it does rev to 7,000, but I'm going to take Dave's word for it. We've got the famous Recaro fishnets, they're known as, and that relates to the netted headrest pattern, Ford trademark back in the day of the RS cars. The Mark II Escorts I remember from my youth, they weren't set up anything like as well as this. I mean, well, they weren't set up at all, they were just old cars. And you didn't get the independent setup until the Mark III, so you know, there's quite a basic setup really, but it just feels absolutely poised, this car. And it feels like it would do anything you want, you know, without getting you into too much trouble. It's going to be predictable. That was their advantage, I guess, on all those forest rally stages. You knew exactly what an Escort was going to give you. Brakes feel a little bit wooden by modern standards, but to be honest, by the standards of Mark II Escorts, they feel excellent. So, you know, we'll let that one pass. Ford gave you everything the sporting driver needed in the 70s. You know, certainly everything they needed to boast about. You got oil pressure, you got rev counter, you got these fancy seats. Even got a clock, and you got a badge that says custom, and that was the important thing. It's funny, really, a lot of my experience of performance cars from this era is the Alphas. They're quite an exotic car, or they were back in the day. This doesn't feel that different from something like a GTV or something. It's got the raspy exhaust, and it's just got a bit of sort of character to it, you know. Well, that was fun. Thanks for that.
No, not a
That
problem.
really does drive well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I can see where you've put the effort into the performance parts.
It's just ready to go, isn't it? All
Yeah,
the
it's
time.
absolutely on the button. This is such a shame we've got a speed limit here today.
I could hear it was just ready
over
for
the
you
place.
just
Yeah.
to give it the full, the full lot.
Well, there you go. That is where it all came from, and that is probably more fun than any Focus, I think, actually, if I'm honest.